Born to Rule, episodes 21 to 25. The hidden luxury car, the shocking painting, and Gavin's crushing humiliation news that someone had reserved the entire Sky Garden at the Aurelius Grand spread throughout Orris Hill like wildfire. Countless women were envious of the mysterious wife whose husband was willing to spend millions to give her an unforgettable anniversary celebration. Everyone wanted to discover the identity of the fortunate woman. To protect his secret, Charlie instructed Isaac to make special arrangements so that no one would connect him to the reservation. As the anniversary approached, Charlie became increasingly excited. Claire had never received the grand wedding she deserved, and he was determined to make up for it. But before the anniversary arrived, Charlie had another surprise planned for his wife. Early the following morning, he visited a luxury car dealership. With $10 billion available to him, Charlie could have bought Claire almost any vehicle he wanted. However, he knew that his wife was modest and practical. If he gave her an outrageously expensive car, she would be uncomfortable driving it and would immediately question where the money came from. Charlie initially decided to purchase a respectable business sedan costing approximately $500,000, luxurious enough for Claire's position as a director, but not so extravagant that it would draw unwanted attention. He arrived at the dealership on his electric bicycle, wearing his usual clothing. The salespeople immediately judged him by his appearance. They assumed he was merely escaping the heat and taking advantage of the dealership's air conditioning. Charlie ignored their disrespect and approached the model he wanted. After examining the top executive version, priced at $618,000, he announced that he was ready to purchase it immediately. Instead of assisting him, one of the salesmen mocked him and questioned whether he could afford it. The man warned that Charlie would embarrass himself when his card was declined. Charlie calmly asked how much commission the salesman would have earned from the sale. When the salesman answered $10,000, Charlie informed him that he had just lost it. Charlie warned the sales manager that keeping such a disrespectful employee would damage the dealership's business. He then left and walked into the neighboring luxury showroom. This time, Charlie chose a top-of-the-line 760 sedan worth $2.6 million. The saleswoman was stunned when he asked whether the car could be driven off the lot that same day. Charlie did not request a test drive or attempt to negotiate the price. He simply swiped his card, completed the purchase, and received the keys. He then drove the expensive sedan back to the first dealership, placed his electric bicycle in the trunk, and left in full view of the salesman who had insulted him. The entire staff was speechless. The manager immediately fired the salesman. Because he had judged Charlie by his clothes and transportation, the man had lost a wealthy customer, a substantial commission, and his job. As Charlie drove away, however, he realized that he had acted impulsively. The car was far more expensive than the one he had intended to purchase, and explaining a $2.6 million vehicle to Claire would be nearly impossible. Charlie came up with an unusual solution. He stopped at an automobile shop and replaced the 760 emblem with a 520 emblem, making the powerful luxury car appear to be the least expensive model in the series. Most people would never notice the difference. Before collecting Claire and Elsa, Charlie purchased a gift for his old college friend Darren, whose restaurant was celebrating its grand opening. Darren had been one of the only classmates who treated Charlie kindly during college. Because Charlie remembered that friendship, he purchased an authentic early American painting by Harvey Pike for $200,000. Harvey Pike was respected by experts but not widely recognized by the general public. Charlie believed the painting would be a meaningful and valuable gift without immediately revealing how much he had spent. When Charlie arrived at the M Grand Group, Claire was stunned to see him driving a new car. Charlie told her that he had purchased it for her with money he had saved over the years. Claire was concerned that he had spent so much, but Charlie reminded her that she was now a director who regularly met important clients. She needed reliable transportation, and she deserved to have something of her own. Elsa agreed. She encouraged Claire to accept the gift and appreciate how thoughtfully Charlie had considered her professional needs. Claire was deeply moved. Although she had no idea that the car was worth $2.6 million, she understood that Charlie had bought it because he loved her and wanted to support her career. The three of them then traveled to Darren's restaurant, the Moonlight Bistro, for its opening celebration and their college reunion. Outside the restaurant, several former classmates were admiring Gavin Sawyer's gold 540 sedan. Gavin was a wealthy and arrogant former classmate who had pursued Claire during college. She had repeatedly rejected him, and he remained bitter that she had eventually married Charlie. When Charlie arrived, Gavin noticed the 520 emblem and immediately mocked the car as the cheapest model in the series. He bragged that his 540 was far more powerful and expensive. Gavin then insulted Charlie for living with Claire's family and assumed that Claire had purchased the car for him. Elsa quickly corrected him, revealing that Charlie had bought the vehicle for his wife. Unable to accept that Charlie might be more successful than he appeared, Gavin challenged him to a race. Elsa pointed out that the competition was obviously unfair. Gavin's 540 was supposed to be much faster than Charlie's apparent 520. Gavin claimed that a race depended on courage and driving ability, but in reality, he believed his superior engine guaranteed his victory. Charlie knew that Gavin had no idea what he was challenging. The car Gavin believed was an ordinary 520 was actually Charlie's powerful 760, with a much larger engine and significantly greater horsepower. Charlie accepted the race but insisted that they place something meaningful on the outcome. When Darren walked outside carrying a large box of fireworks, Charlie proposed the perfect wager. The loser would place the fireworks inside his own car and ignite them. Gavin agreed immediately. He was convinced Charlie's new vehicle was about to be destroyed. As their classmates gathered to watch, Claire begged Charlie not to allow Gavin to provoke him. Charlie calmly assured her that he would not lose. The race began. Gavin accelerated as hard as possible, hoping to humiliate Charlie with an enormous lead. Instead, Charlie's disguised 760 shot past him almost instantly. Before Gavin had even reached the turning point, Charlie was already on his way back. Charlie crossed the finish line by a landslide. Gavin and the other classmates were stunned. They could not understand how a supposed 520 had defeated a 540 so easily. Desperate to protect his pride, Gavin accused Charlie of modifying the car and cheating. But the other classmates reminded him that he had initiated the race, established the conditions, and insisted that the car's performance was all that mattered. When Gavin attempted to escape the wager, even his friends began calling him a hypocrite and a sore loser. Charlie then offered him a way out. He said that they were all classmates and that Gavin did not have to destroy such an expensive vehicle. Instead of accepting Charlie's mercy, Gavin interpreted it as another humiliation. His wounded pride took control. Determined to prove that he could afford to lose, he grabbed the fireworks, placed them inside his car, and lit the fuse. The display quickly became a disaster. The fireworks damaged the seats and ignited the interior. Within moments, Gavin's beloved luxury car was engulfed in flames. By the time the fire department arrived, the vehicle had been reduced to a burned-out frame. Gavin was devastated. He had challenged Charlie because he wanted to humiliate him in front of Claire and their former classmates. Instead, he had destroyed his own car and made himself look foolish. Still unwilling to accept responsibility, Gavin secretly blamed Charlie and began searching for another opportunity to get revenge. Inside the restaurant, Charlie presented Darren with the Harvey Pike painting and congratulated him on the grand opening. Darren was touched by the gesture, but his fiancée, Aria Hughes, reacted very differently. As soon as Charlie walked away, Aria opened the gift and dismissed the painting as an old piece of junk. She complained that it probably was not worth enough to cover the cost of Charlie and Claire's meals. Darren defended his friend, insisting that the value of a gift was not nearly as important as the meaning behind it. Aria became angry and reminded Darren that her father had contributed most of the money needed to purchase the restaurant. Gavin then presented Darren with a $10,000 cash gift. Aria's attitude immediately changed. She praised Gavin's generosity while continuing to insult Charlie's painting. At the dining table, Gavin began boasting about his father, Declan Sawyer, who was a senior executive at the Emgrand Group. Gavin claimed that his father earned millions and possessed enough influence to secure valuable company contracts. He even promised to help former classmates obtain jobs at the Emgrand Group. Charlie listened carefully. He had not known that Gavin's father worked for his company. When Gavin revealed that he had established a building materials business and planned to use his father's connections to obtain contracts from the Emgrand Group, Charlie became even more interested. It sounded like Gavin and his father intended to profit from the company through favoritism and private connections. Gavin then turned his attention back to Charlie and mocked him for being a stay-at-home husband. Charlie remained completely unfazed. He openly admitted that he cooked, cleaned, drove Claire to work, and gave his wife back rubs. His answer left Gavin speechless. Charlie felt no shame in supporting Claire. He did not need the approval of classmates who knew nothing about his true identity or fortune. Later, Arya took the stage and publicly announced every gift the couple had received. Most classmates had contributed approximately $1,000. When she announced Gavin's $10,000 gift, the room erupted in admiration. Then she deliberately announced that Charlie and Claire had given an old painting. The entire room burst into laughter. Gavin accused Charlie of buying a worthless imitation and pretending it was valuable. Charlie calmly told him that the painting was worth more than every other gift in the room combined. Gavin laughed and challenged him to prove it. Arya revealed that her father, Orion Hughes, was a nationally recognized antiques expert. Since Orion was upstairs, she offered to bring him down to appraise Charlie's painting. Confident that the painting was worthless, Gavin made another reckless wager. If the painting was worth tens of thousands of dollars, he promised to eat the table. Claire became increasingly embarrassed. Charlie had told her the painting cost only a few $1,000s, so she believed he was exaggerating to defend himself. But Charlie remained confident and accepted Gavin's bet. When Orion arrived, Arya handed him the painting and waited for him to expose Charlie. Several classmates continued mocking it, claiming that the box was probably worth more than the artwork inside. Orion carefully examined the painting. Then he delivered a verdict no one expected. It was an authentic work by Harvey Pike, an important and unconventional artist from an earlier period. Orion estimated its market value at approximately $200,000. The entire room fell silent. Darren was overwhelmed. He could not believe Charlie had given him such an expensive gift, but Charlie reminded him that friendship and thoughtfulness mattered more than the price. Arya's opinion of Charlie changed immediately. The gift she had dismissed as garbage was worth far more than Gavin's cash contribution and every other gift combined. Claire was equally surprised. Charlie explained that he had purchased the painting from an acquaintance who sold it to him at a heavily discounted price. Although Claire still did not fully understand how Charlie found such valuable opportunities, she was touched by his generosity toward Darren. Charlie then turned to Gavin and asked how he intended to eat the table. Once again, Gavin found himself trapped by his own arrogance. The classmates who had previously mocked Charlie now pressured Gavin to honor his promise. Realizing that eating a table was impossible, Gavin finally swallowed his pride and apologized to Charlie in front of everyone. Charlie accepted the apology and ended the spectacle, saying the day should remain focused on Darren's restaurant opening. But Charlie was not finished with Gavin. After hearing Gavin brag about using his father's position to obtain Emgrand Group contracts, Charlie quietly contacted Doris. He asked her to identify the senior executive named Sawyer, whose son was Gavin. Doris confirmed that Declan Sawyer was an Emgrand Group vice president. Charlie gave her a simple order: fire him immediately. While Gavin sat in the restaurant plotting revenge, he had no idea that his father was already being dismissed from the company. Before Gavin could recover from his second humiliation, a group of armed thugs stormed into the Moonlight Bistro. Their leader demanded 20% ownership of the restaurant in exchange for so-called protection. Darren and Aria were terrified. The restaurant's previous owner had reportedly been driven out by the same criminals, but Aria never believed they would appear in broad daylight on the restaurant's opening day. Gavin immediately saw another opportunity to restore his reputation. He stepped forward and boasted that his father had powerful connections throughout Oris Hill. He claimed he knew political leaders, police officials, and influential people within the development zone. Gavin called Mayor Simons and placed the conversation on speakerphone, expecting everyone to witness his influence. But something had already changed. News of Declan Sawyer's dismissal from the M. Grand Group had spread among Oris Hill's leadership. Without his father's position, Gavin no longer possessed the influence he believed he had. Mayor Simons refused to help and abruptly ended the call. Gavin stood frozen and humiliated as the criminals watched him. He still did not know that Charlie, the man he had mocked, challenged, and insulted throughout the day, was the mysterious chairman who had destroyed his family's influence with a single message. Gavin believed Charlie was a powerless, live-in son-in-law, but every time he attempted to humiliate Charlie, he unknowingly stepped deeper into the path of the hidden heir. And now, with dangerous men surrounding the restaurant and Gavin's supposed connections completely gone, everyone was about to discover exactly how little power Gavin truly possessed. Please remember to like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell.